the conflict in Mali between the Mali government and the Al-Qaeda, ISIS terrorists who are operating there. According to France, these Al-Qaeda, ISIS terrorists are the resistance, and they are resisting the Malian government and its Russian allies' attempts to douse the fanatic flames that have been set across the continent. Where do you stand on that? Can you tell us more?
Well, so I think this was 2 days ago, a documentary that was produced by a French government mouthpiece, ARTE, as you said, framed or made an attempt to frame the conflict in Mali as a conflict between this dictatorial regime and a group of freedom fighters who are fighting for an independent homeland and yada, yada, yada. Meanwhile, anyone who's followed this conflict for longer than 5 minutes knows that these elements that the French government's mouthpiece is trying to cast as freedom fighters are terrorists by the textbook definition of the term terrorist. As you said, elements of Al-Qaeda and ISIS, elements of JNIM. This is what France is now attempting to typecast as some classic African governments versus rebel conflict. Even the use of terminology is very telling. At no point through that documentary was the word terrorist used, even though that's what these people clearly are, or the word Islamists, even though that's clearly what they are and claim to be. Instead, the word used to describe them is rebels, which is a loaded term because it's inferring that there is some sort of historical or ideological position that they are defending, and that the Malian government is, in some way in the wrong here. If you watch that documentary, you can't come away with any other conclusion. And this is how this is being framed. And what this tells me is that from the very start, the existence of these supposed terrorist entities in the Sahel, I think it's fair to say now that we could say with some measure of finality that the very existence of these groups in Sahel was at least in some form down to the French government.